I remember the festival night, the night that changed everything for Aduni and our entire village. The drumbeats were loud, echoing from the palace walls to the distant hills. The air was thick with excitement, and every maiden in the village hoped to catch the eye of a prince. Yet no one, absolutely no one, expected what was about to happen. Least of all, Aduni was not like her sisters. She was the only daughter of her mother, who passed when she was young, leaving Aduni to grow up with her father's other wives and daughters. They didn't treat her like one of their own. She was different, not just in her appearance, but in her quiet, steady way of being. Where her sisters were slender and graceful, Aduni was rounder, softer. She walked with her head down and rarely spoke. The other girls didn't hide their looks or their whispers. Aduni, they said, would not be chosen. This festival was a big one. The annual dance where the maidens displayed their beauty before the king, the chiefs, the princes, and all the young men of the village. It was a night of hope, a night when girls became brides. Prince Akintade, the eldest prince, was the main attraction. Everyone knew he would be there to choose his bride. Every maiden dreamed of standing in front of him, of hearing her name on his lips. But Aduni, my cousin, kept her eyes on the ground. She hadn't even planned to dance. It was her stepmother who forced her into it, maybe as a way to humiliate her in front of everyone. I watched her as she walked to the circle of maidens. She wore a simple wrapper, her hair braided neatly, but she did not glow like the others. She looked nervous, uncomfortable even. The girls around her looked away, as if her presence was some sort of stain on their perfect night. But Aduni, though her eyes stayed low, had something the others did not: a warmth, a softness that drew you in without demanding anything in return. She was real, unlike the girls who flashed their bright smiles and tried too hard to catch the prince's attention. Then it happened. Prince Akintade stood up, a tall figure with eyes sharp as a hawk's. He looked over each maiden, studying them. The crowd hushed, waiting. The air was thick with anticipation. And then his eyes found Aduni. "Aduni," he said, his voice strong and clear. The crowd gasped. A murmur spread like wildfire. People looked at each other, stunned. Some whispered that it must be a mistake, that the prince would never choose Aduni. Her stepmothers, sitting at the edge of the crowd, looked horrified, their mouths agape. Aduni herself stood frozen, her wide eyes staring at the prince, as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing. Prince Akintade repeated himself, extending his hand toward her. "Aduni, come forward." I'll never forget the look on her face as she stepped forward, her cheeks flushed, her eyes wide with disbelief. She walked slowly, almost like she was in a dream. When she reached the prince, he smiled at her, a genuine smile that seemed to reassure her. It was as if, in that moment, he saw something in her that no one else had bothered to see. But not everyone was pleased. Aduni's stepmothers and the king's wives did not like the idea of Aduni becoming part of the royal family. They saw her as an outsider, someone unworthy of the prince's love. They whispered to each other, plotting ways to keep her from marrying him. They spread rumors, tried to turn the king against her, and even attempted to convince the prince to change his mind. But Prince Akintade was not one to be swayed by gossip or deceit. He stood by his choice, defending Aduni at every turn. He told the king that Aduni was the one he wanted, the one he had chosen with his heart. And though the king and the chiefs were hesitant at first, they eventually agreed. After all, the prince's happiness mattered more than anything else. The day of the wedding was unlike any other. The village was filled with joy and celebration. The same people who had once whispered and judged Aduni now cheered for her, amazed by her resilience and grace. She walked down the aisle with her head held high, dressed in royal colors, her face glowing with happiness. Their marriage was a blessing for the village. People said that it brought good luck, that the crops grew taller, and the rivers ran clearer. The people who once doubted her now looked up to her as a symbol of strength and humility. Even her stepmothers, who had once conspired against her, had no choice but to accept her. Aduni had proven them all wrong, not with anger or revenge, but with kindness and patience. As the years passed, Aduni and Prince Akintade became beloved by the village. They ruled with wisdom and compassion, always thinking of the people. Aduni never let her position change who she was. She remained humble, always remembering the girl she had been, the girl no one thought would be chosen. Looking back, I am grateful I witnessed that night. The night Aduni changed her fate and taught us all a lesson in the power of quiet strength.